Hi greedy 3Ders, there are some models that you look at and immediately think, oh, I need to print that right away, and this is definitely one of those models. This is Elegy of the Wyrm, and it's from CA3D Studios, who create some fantastic models for resin printing, and this one immediately caught my eye. Now CA3D also have a Patreon where they regularly release new models, so I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check them out. There's loads of fine details on this, there's plenty of separate parts and so many supports. I thought this would be the perfect project to put the HeyGears Reflex RS Turbo and its PAB10 resin through its paces. Now, rather than just showing you that finished print, I'm going to take you through the whole process, from prepping the files, through printing, cleaning and curing, right up to assembly and eventually painting this beautiful model. One of the things I really like about HeyGears is just how seamlessly the printer, the resin and the Blueprint Studio work together. In the slicer, when I select PAB10, the appropriate settings are already there. No exposure testing, no calibration prints, no tweaking settings, and the PAB10, I've got to be honest, as one of their cheapest resins, has given me superb results. It captures those tiny details beautifully, but probably my favourite part of this combination is the supports. I've used so many resin printers and support systems over the years, and these are quite simply the easiest supports I've ever removed. So let's get the files into Blueprint Studio. Getting started is as simple as dragging those STLs onto your build plate. The first thing I'm going to look at here is the orientation. Where possible, I'll try and keep the most visible areas facing away from supports. A face is an obvious example. I'd much rather have those contact points hidden around the back or maybe underneath the model. Now, once I'm happy with the orientation, I'll decide which parts of the model need hollowing. For larger pieces like the base, hollowing saves resin and reduces weight, but I don't automatically hollow everything. Those smaller parts, like maybe her hands or the section of the dragon's tail, they simply don't need it. Within the Blueprint Studio, I'll select hollow from here, leave the default setting to 2.5mm wall thickness exactly as it is, I don't change anything, and then once it's all hollowed, I'll add some drainage holes. Now, normally I increase these to around about 5mm, especially on larger pieces. I try to position them at the lowest points of the cavity and where possible somewhere hidden, like underneath the model or on a joining surface. I generally use more than one though to help resin drain and make cleaning easier. And I do turn off the penetrate through option so I don't accidentally create another hole on the opposite side of the model. Then we come to supports. Again, I keep this simple. I use Blueprint Studio's auto support functions and I leave the standard settings as they are. And I've seen other creators change things like contact shape from sphere to none, but I don't feel a need to. Part of that is because I'm using the HeyGears pulsing release module, which uses those controlled pulses of air to reduce the forces involved in separating each printed layer from the vat. Combined with the PAB10, the standard auto supports, the results have just been excellent. They hold securely during printing but come away incredibly easy afterwards. Once everything is sliced, the file is sent wirelessly from Blueprint Studio straight to my RS Turbo in the man cave. No USB sticks inside. Select the printer, send it across and away it goes. And to be fair, every single part I've thrown at the RS Turbo for this project has printed flawlessly. Now, once a print finishes, I use this third-party 3D printed angled drainer to let as much of that wonderful PAB10 run back into the vat. It saves wasting resin and also makes cleaning easier, keeps your IPA cleaner for longer. For that, I'm using the HeyGears wash station with IPA, and again the file information can be sent wirelessly to the wash station. It already knows that I've printed it in PAB10 and therefore knows the correct wash time, in this case 4 minutes. Yeah, I could have manually set 4 minutes on the machine, but when the system already knows what I've printed, I might as well let it do all the work. That's really what I like about the HeyGears workflow. It takes much of this working out and guesswork and stress out of the resin printing, and let's concentrate just on what we want to be doing, which is the model. After giving it a wash, I remove the supports, and honestly, just look how easy they come away. Is this not the easiest that you've seen supports being removed? Leave me a comment in the comment section if you've ever seen better, but this was just beautiful. Once they're removed, I leave the parts to rest for a few hours just to make sure all of that IPA has evaporated before curing. Then onto the HeyGears cure station. The file information is sent across again to it automatically. It knows again I'm using PAB 10 and automatically applies the appropriate curing process. The only pieces not printed in the RS Turbo was some of the resting Dragon parts, simply to save a bit of time. I printed those simultaneously on my HeyGears Reflex 2 using HeyGears PAF 10 resin. Now the process is exactly the same because the system knows again which particular parts of PAF 10. The wash and cure stations automatically use the appropriate settings for that resin instead. So even with 2 printers and 2 different resins running, all from HeyGears of course, I don't have to keep track of different cleaning schedules, curing times. Once everything is then cured, I give the parts a quick check, lightly sand away any remaining support marks, but really there aren't many. The supports come away so cleanly that most parts only needed the occasional touch with some very fine sandpaper before they're ready for assembly. Here are all the finished parts, and as you can see there's quite a few parts to assemble. So I assembled the base and the Dragon using some super glue and activator, and any small gaps were filled with a little PAB 10 from a precision bottle and cured with a USB UV torch. Now thankfully there weren't many gaps to fill, the printing tolerances have been excellent and individual sections fitted together extremely well. And with that, thank you HeyGears, the printing side of the Elegy of the Wyrm is completely finished. It was painless, it was pain-free, it was easy and simple. No, those supports. Now everything gets a coat of Gallery Kaleido black primer, and then we can finally start bringing this thing to life with some paint. For all the airbrushing, I'm going to be using the Gallery Aventus Titan Mist airbrush, a dual action airbrush that gives me control I need for everything from larger areas of colour and priming through to the shading and finer detail, with thanks there to its 0.2 and 0.4mm size options all included within it. First up, it's going to be that priming. Once everything was assembled and I was happy with the joins and the whole model was given that coat of Gallery Kaleido black primer, this gives me a nice consistent surface for the paint to adhere to, but the black also gives me a great starting point for building up the shadows and highlighting as we start to add colour. As we start the painting, there's actually a little more meaning behind the Elegy of the Wyrm than I first realised. The original artist, Sergaz, created the piece around the relationship between fear, protection and the unconscious. The sleeping dragon represents something that may be dormant beneath the surface, but is still there, watching, influencing and perhaps even protecting. And that's what makes the composition quite interesting. At first glance, you've got this relatively vulnerable looking woman surrounded by these huge, incredibly powerful creatures. So your natural assumption might be that the dragons represent danger, but that isn't necessarily the case. The Wyrms is an old term commonly used for a dragon or dragon-like serpent. It can also be seen as a silent guardian. These Wyrms represent something powerful enough to frighten us, but that same strength can also provide protection, so there's this deliberate contrast running through the piece. Fear against safety, vulnerability against strength, and beauty against something much darker and much more intimidating. Even the sleeping Wyrm adds to that idea. The danger or perhaps the protection is still present even when it appears to be at rest. There isn't really a traditional fantasy backstory with named characters or a specific event taking place. It's much more of a symbolic and open to interpretation meaning, and I actually quite like that because you can look at the finished model and come up with your own idea of exactly what the relationship is between the woman and these creatures. And knowing a little of what Sergaz intended definitely gives me some inspiration for how I wanted to approach the painting. So just to brighten the skin tones up a little bit, I'm going to use a little bit of Kislev Flesh on a dry brush, just to go over some of the higher points on the body, like the knees, the front of the shins, across the top of the feet. I just want to lighten up those two colours. I've only used the Nomad and the Barbarian Flesh for the skin tones, and normally I go in it with a higher coat, but I wanted to just use this paint instead to just give it a general bit of highlighting across the skin tones. There's 1,000 ways you can do skin tones, but I like it nice and easy. Matte black next. And I'm not going to show you the process. You can see what I've done. I have painted the blacks in her eyes, followed by some Magos purple to paint her lips. That's the first layer of Magos purple. I did give it another layer after that. Used a little bit of ivory to paint the whites of her eyes. I've left a little bit of a black ring all the way around, although the lower one I am going to be covering with this colour, which is just a little bit of white and a little bit of red mixed to get a pink colour, because I ain't got a pink colour. And I've just painted the bottom of her eyes, as you can see there. Top black, bottom pink. Eyes are ivory. For the eyes themselves, I'm using angel green, which is brew, and obviously black for the pupil, and the darker green was for the circle first, followed by the lighter colour inside, and then the pupil. And I've made it just looking across to the left. I've also put a little bit of that pink on the edges of her eyes, as you can see. I also used a little bit of red wash in those eyes as well, just to give them a bit of colour. This is burnt red for the hair. Again, I'm not going to bore you by showing me painting every strand of hair. It took a long time, it was very intricate, but I'm glad I did it, and I like the colour. The reference pictures, she's got blonde hair, but hey, it's your model, you can paint it whatever you want to do. Onto some Kaleido paints now, and some dark green for the dragon. Now for me, dragons are green. Dragons can be any colour you want because they're mystical creatures, but for me, I guess it's from my upbringing, dragons have always been green, and they're represented in all sorts of things as all sorts of colours at the moment, but I want a green dragon. So I'm going to take this dark green and I'm going to give it a base coat. I'm just going to pop a little bit of blue tack into the head to hold the head on, just so I can get the shadings all right and all looking the same before I glue the head on. Now this was a bit of a debate for me really. Do I glue the head on now and seal the gap, or do I glue it on later, leave a bit of a gap but allow me to paint it easier? And that's what I chose to do. I'm using a lighter green now just to go over some of the highlighted areas. That dragon that's lying down is an easy one really, because it's just the top of it needs doing, but the other one, just to try to, I don't know, give it a little bit more contrast, make it more interesting, give it some shades of green. Orc Flesh next, which is a Citadel paint, and I'm going to paint the lower areas with this. It's a darker green, it's almost like a wash, just to give it again some shadowing, some more interest, some more purpose, different colours of green. I think you get where I'm going with this. I can only explain it so much. So that green's gone on, and I've done both of the dragons with it, and I've done some of the crevices and the cracks in his arms and underneath him and his joints, etc. Next, I'm going to give it a little bit of a change in colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this skin tone from Kaleido, and you can use Army Painter, Skeleton Bone, I'm going to use Skin Tone, just to go over the bones on his back, the spiny bits, the ends of his wings, the end of his tail. And I've also just added a little bit of shadowing on. Now don't panic, I know it looks a little bit weird at the moment, but there is a plan, trust me. Again, I'm doing the same to the lying down sleeping dragon with his spine. I did the toenails as well, little bits across his head and his horns before I get Agrax Earthshade. Now, giving bone effect on these mystical creatures is fabulous using Agrax Earthshade on top of a very light colour. And here, as you can see now, I'm going to paint it all across those bony areas. I gave it a couple of coats actually, especially a darker coat where it comes out of the skin, and then I let it get a little bit lighter as it comes out of the skin further on, but it gives some wonderful shading. And I went over quite a few areas of the dragon with it, again just to add a little bit of shading, a little bit of interest, and just add another layer of colour. Drake's Tooth next, to dry brush across and highlight some of the areas and the wrinkles. The skin is quite wrinkly, as you can see, and very, very textured with scale, so I wanted to bring that out, and using a light colour paint with a hint of green, a soupçon of green, was just what I needed here to bring it forward and make it look again nice and contrasty. Same with the big one, just painting it all the way across, not doing too much. I don't want to kill it, I don't want to overdo it, and I am going to varnish these afterwards to sort of bring out the colour a little bit more and to tone down the light. But yeah, it's all going well so far. I also I don't know if I said I went over the nails with that wash from Citadel. Teeth here on the inside of the mouth, of course I didn't show you that. Fake pink for the inside of the mouth, which I airbrushed in just to give it a bit of colour before I took that Drake's Tooth, and I'm going to paint the teeth. Nothing difficult. I've also painted the eyes, as you can see there. A little bit of a speed paint pink. I contemplated between pink and red here, but I went for pink first, and I'm going to come back with a bit of red just to paint the tongue. Again, just to make it look a bit different. I know there's no reference picture to what a dragon's tongue looks like. There's that red tone, red wash. So I'm just going to paint that in the middle of the tongue again, just to make it look a little bit more like there's a higher blood supply. What am I talking about? A dragon, does he have a blood supply? It's not real, but you know what I'm going with this. Pallid bone next for the teeth, and this stuff, you've seen me use this probably 1,000 times, but it's marvellous. On top of teeth, on top of a pale colour, it just makes the teeth look tartary, dirty, yellow. It looks like this dragon's been on about 100 Benson and Hedges a day, and that is exactly what we want, that dirty, horrible, yellowy teeth. Now watch this, Zealot Yellow for dragon eyes, and I've showed you the whole process here because it just blows me away every time. Just literally I'm painting it into the eyes. This is just an Army Painter speed paint, and I'm not going to do anything else with the eyes because I'm so pleased with how this just one coat of this speed paint has done the trick. There's yellows, there's oranges, there's reds. Just look at that. Those eyes, to me anyway, are done. And I'm just going to gloss everything up now with a bit of a gloss varnish, teeth, tongue and those eyes, and that's the dragon head pretty much done, I would say. Would you agree? You happy with that? I'm going to give it a matte varnish all the way across. I gave the lying down dragon and the big pouncy dragon a coat of this all over it. Just dampened it down a little bit, dampened down and toned down the colours a little bit, and protected all that paint work that we've just done for the rest of what we're going to be doing. Next I took some spaceship exterior for the base. Now this base, really, it's easy. Just dry brush a light colour on it. I did consider putting some mud on it, I did consider putting some snow on it, but I decided with a grey dry brush followed by a little bit of streaking grime just to cover all the way across. This stuff works much better if it's watered down, so occasionally I squirted it with a little squirty bottle of water just to make it more soluble, and it drips, it runs, and then I used a bit of a kitchen roll as well at certain times just to dab it and poke it and even it out a little bit. But I love this streaky grime. You can put it in an airbrush if you really want to and blast it on, but I like the effect it gives you with a brush. And then I dry brushed across that spaceship colour, that clear colour, a white colour, a light colour, whatever you want to put over, just to bring some of those rocks back. And then I turned to some of this stuff. If you've never seen this Dirty Down gore, it is incredible. It's amazing for gore and sort of horrible snotty red stuff. It is amazing, and that is her pretty much done. Shall we have a look at her? Shall we? Let's have a look at her. And that is the model, the Elegy of the Wyrm, all finished. Gotta say this, it's one of my favourite models. I know I've said that a few times in the past, but just look at it. It's beautiful. If you love dragons, if you love fantasy, if you love mystery, you're going to love the Elegy of the Wyrm, and you can get it from CA3D Studios. Again, I've just got to reiterate how easy this was to print. The RS Turbo from HeyGears, the PAB10 resin and their settings made the supports fall away. I get so excited about fantastic supports. Now, if you're into 3D printing, I guarantee you know exactly what I am saying. Supports coming off like that is all part of what we do this for. It is beautiful. You'll never chisel supports off. You'll never have to hack them off. Just a little breeze, a little blow of wind and they fall away. That is how we want supports to be removed. So thank you HeyGears for the PAB10, thank you for the printer, thank you for the settings, and thank you also for sponsoring this video today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. Please let me know down in the comments what you think about the Elegy of the Wyrm. Please also let me know how you've got on with your HeyGears Turbo, and what do you think of the support removal? Is there a better way that you've found of removing supports? Does a different printer do it better? Or have you found that your HeyGears does it as wonderfully as mine does? Thank you for watching. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon, all the details will be down below. Make sure you like, share and subscribe. And I will see you next time once again on Greedy 3D. Thank you so much for watching.